a true playoff game. At LSU in prime time in Death Valley. LSU catching three here. Again, common theme. I don't think this implies that there's close to a touchdown difference in these two teams. No, sir. I do not see it. I like the dog here at home. By the way, I mean, again, one of the things I'm worried about, just like the Ole Miss game, and I think both these games are going to be close. So it could obviously go either way, but I just think this is closer to a coin flip than a touchdown. Brian Kelly has been very good off of bye, 20-11-1 against the spread. He's also 28-13-1 against the spread, 68.3% as an underdog of at least a field goal. But this is big game DeBoer, just like big game Kirby Smart. So am I concerned that DeBoer, both these teams are off of a bye, is going to have a really good game plan here with a healthier Milroe? Yes. But here's why I like LSU. I've done nothing but fade this Alabama team all year. I think that they're extremely flawed, especially on the back end. Their secondary is ripe for the picking, extremely inexperienced, and really untested. And I've been screaming about this all year, that their secondary is vulnerable and their pass rush is not elite. Well, I mean, look, Georgia exploded on them, and it's not like that's aged really well. Who else have they faced this year? Their secondary. Western Kentucky with a quarterback who's now been benched. Wisconsin with their backup quarterback who had to come in after the starter got hurt. USF, which missed countless wide open deep shots. Vandy, which put up 40 in an upset win. South Carolina, another not great passing offense that should have won in Tuscaloosa. Tennessee, whose pass offense is stalling, who beat Alabama. And Missouri with an unplayable backup quarterback. That's who they played. I mean, now you're going up against the top 15 passing offense with Garrett Nussmeier, a really good pass protecting offensive line, and you're going to get tested here. The one question is Garrett Dellinger, their starting guard, will be out. Is that the weak link here that causes this to crumble? Maybe, but it's not like Alabama has been completely dominant as a pass rushing unit. I mean, they're good. They're just not like who you think Alabama normally is. So I think LSU can move the ball through the air. Maybe, Caden Durham can also give them a little bit more juice and balance in the rushing game. They get 2 more weeks to work on the new run blocking schemes. But, I mean, this is an offensive line that gives Nussmeier a ton of time. I think they're top 5 in sacks allowed. He can beat this Alabama secondary. The LSU defense, it is improving on a weekly basis under new defensive coordinator, Blake Baker. Their defensive line, I think, is an underrated group that's getting better. Alabama's offensive line still has issues. If you look at some of the underlying metrics, they are ugly. So I think that there's going to be some negative plays here that can kill drives. The one concern that I have is how many explosives will Alabama hit?
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Milroe still, I guess there's like 2 concerns. That's one. Jalen Milroe is still an elite deep ball, and LSU aggressive defense, they're going to get some negative plays, but they're also vulnerable to giving up explosive plays. So how many of those does Milroe connect on? But it's not like this Alabama offense has been firing on all cylinders. The other thing is, does LSU or is LSU ready for the mobile quarterback? That's what burnt them against Texas A&M, but they clearly weren't ready for Marcel Reed. Now you have 2 weeks to prepare. I think in a way that works. It's the perfect scenario. They just got burnt by a running quarterback. Now you have 2 weeks to kind of prepare, make those adjustments. Will they be ready? Do they have the personnel to properly defend Milroe on his legs? Because Milroe should be a bit healthier here. I think he was dinged up, which could have been part of those offensive woes that we've seen for stretches this year. But I don't think that there's close to a touchdown difference between these teams. Again, this is a game that I think should be back and forth until the end. So I happily took the field goal. What are you seeing here?
I wanted to go against you. I can't. There's a better bet on the board, I think. And ultimately, I'm going to end up joining you, but I'm going to end up joining you live. So I did a deep dive on Alabama to focus on the 3-game stretch that really got them in trouble: Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Can I connect the dots about what the hell is going on with this team? And the data point on Missouri, I just completely threw out. I mean, Brady Cook, all the injuries, forget it. Penalties and opposing offenses that just create first downs, control the clock, is the biggest issue for the Alabama defense. And then you look at the fact that they're 128th in penalties this season, 15 for 115 yards against the Bulls.
That was an issue last year, too.
Yeah, it's still an issue with the whole new coaching staff. Vandy controlled the clock for 42 minutes. I don't care how explosive you are. You don't have the ball for 19 minutes. And South Carolina's 62% success rate on the ground with Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders. They doubled the national average in methodical drives. They were doing the same thing as Vandy. They're able to keep it on the ground, 2+ first down drives, play keep away from this explosive Alabama offense. And it's just worth noting that in all of these games, the Alabama defense has been fantastic to come out of the gate. The scripted portion of defensive coordinator Kane Womack has been unbelievable this year. In 4 of 5 SEC games played already this year, Alabama has shut their opponent out in scoring in the first quarter. You know who the one SEC team that did score on them in the first quarter was Vanderbilt. So I kind of throw that one out. Before the 5 games they played, no one scored on Alabama in the first quarter.
You'd
Adjustment.
also expect a good offensive script in this spot in a big game with DeBoer.
Absolutely. And I think that's the one thing that I focused on with LSU, because the loss to Texas A&M made me really go in and look at what are they doing against zone read concepts? What are they doing against mobile quarterbacks? Or is this a thing where you weren't prepared for Marcel Reed to come in and absolutely dominate you? You look at the edge rushers, Savion Jones, Braden Swinson, they are excellent edge rushers. They can get you, on passing attempts, they can get there. They grade very poorly against the rush. They grade poorly in holding outside contain. How much does that matter with Jalen Milroe and busted plays or maybe designed run attempts? Because Alabama runs a ton of zone read on the ground. How much is he going to keep that ball and try to get outside those tackles? And the Tigers, if you look at their run concepts on defense, they're great against counter. They're very good at holding their positions against counter, but they've been horrible against inside zone. I mean, they've just been torn apart. And, when you go to Nussmeier's numbers and you look at what he did against that Texas A&M defense, they're still a methodical. I like the passing game. They're getting healthier on the outside. It's still methodical. It's just short drops, and I think they're waiting for full health before they start taking shots down deep. And plus, I mean, the level of defenses LSU is playing has been best in the nation. Alabama's 12th in defensive quality drives. They're at least limiting some teams and getting there. And Alabama's 13th in creating contested catches, which is a really big, important stat in college football that Sports Info Solutions puts out to show you if wide receivers have to break stride, if they have hands in their face. Like, it's a very important stat, especially in this game. Right now, Garrett.
But I will say that their schedule's been pretty favorable with who they've gotten to face, like the passing attacks. This will
Yeah,
be a big step up.
but
Like we
on
saw
the other
Georgia
side,
throw it at will.
Nussmeier is outside the top 50 and creating an on-target pass. So that does give me, and I know there's wide receiver situations. All in all, Stuck, I love Alabama money line in the first quarter. Womack hasn't let anybody except Vanderbilt score in the first quarter. Their game plan has been fantastic. I think you're going to get a better number on LSU after the first quarter. And at that point, if I can get, I project this game as a pick. I think the Alabama number is outrageous too. So for me, I'm taking Alabama money line in the first quarter, and you're probably going to see an LSU bet come in right when the second quarter starts.
Yeah, I'm close to pick two. I'm between 0 and 1. I don't mind that. I expect Alabama to win the scripted portions here,
Yeah.
but I also don't mind LSU playing from behind, because I think that they can attack the secondary.
It suits their offense. It suits
Yep.
their offense to be in that mode.
Yep.